All right, we're back live in full effect. Appreciate you guys joining. Make sure you go into the descriptions, download the AllStar app, make your picks for all the UFC shows. We got a pick show every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Join us on that show. But today we will be recapping, we'll be reacting to UFC Vegas 70, the patchwork job of a event. There was I was looking at on Tapology, man. The cancel fights is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 canceled matchups, right? And then
Jeez.
that is insane, dude. And then they still had 10 fights, right? I kind of like these 10 fight shows though, to be honest with you. These 15 fights, they could be a struggle to get through if you're watching the whole card. And I kind of understand why people just say fuck the prelims. I'm just gonna watch the main card because maybe that's the only place where you're gonna get the good fights or the good matchups. But that's not even true. If you watch fighting, you know that there's a lot of great matchups, even if you don't know the names. Because fighting is fighting, man. There's gonna be highlight reels. There's gonna be insane, situations that go down with refereeing, with judging, whatnot, right, throughout the whole card. But Jake, man, appreciate you coming on. Your first show with us. Many
Yeah.
more in the future. Fight Analyst, he's been on here with us in the past. Let's jump right into it, guys. Brendan Allen. I think we all underestimated Brendan Allen. Like
Yeah.
we were all just drinking the juice, the secret juice of Andre Muniz because he came in and I think he was 5-0 in the UFC with
Yep.
with submissions over some top names, some decent competition. And I think he went in here and thought like, hey, I'm just gonna go in here and show my striking, and that did not work out. And it looked like he kind of got tired from it. And Brendan Allen made the proper adjustments throughout the fight and dominated pretty much the whole fight. Like he said, Muniz said, I'm gonna strike, but Brendan Allen's a better striker. I struck him in the first. This is what I saw. I'll get to you guys. And then in the second and third, mixed it up really well with the takedowns and made proper adjustments. In the third round, he went in there and just smothered him on the ground and got the submission, shocking a lot of people, opening a lot of people's eyes. We'll get to you, Jake, first, man. What did you think about the performance from Brendan Allen?
Absolutely blew me away. I was like really high on Muniz all week. I have an article every week for BetQL, and I wrote all about my Tatiana Suarez, Andre Muniz parlay. I was super confident, posted a poll on Twitter. Everybody was on board with me. And then, man, Brendan Allen, like you said, he went out there and shocked us. He looked great on the feet, submitted Andre Muniz. I never thought that would have happened. The guy was on a 9-fight win streak. 5 of his wins were by submission, I believe. But it absolutely blew me away. This is the Brendan Allen secret juice in here now. The Andre Muniz secret juice is out the window.
Yeah, we're drinking the juice, man. We have to drink the juice now. We have to keep an eye on Brendan Allen. He just seems like he's better every time out. And one thing that stands out, and I'm gonna ask you, Garrett, is does he fight to the level of his competition? It looks like he does, man, because in his last fight, I forgot who he fought, but he kind of fought like to his level of competition and still beat the guy. But this
Yatko.
time, yeah, and this time he went in there with a much better what we thought much better opponent and dominated him. Garrett, what did you see? Did you choose Muniz in this one? I think you're muted. We can't hear
But
you.
yeah, there we are. Yeah, I kind of had to because riding a 9-fight winning streak, he was 5-0 in the UFC. He was looking like a wrecking machine, 4 submissions in the UFC. But I mean, come on, I mean, I just it was hard not to take him in this spot, and I felt Muniz was just gonna be a little bit better in the grappling, but he wasn't, and maybe his game plan wasn't there because he was striking way too much in the first round. I was like, why is he not attempting a takedown until like 4 minutes into the first round? It was very odd. And I don't know if he was overexerting himself with a lot of his punches because he was throwing a lot of heavy shots. So he was throwing everything into his punches. And I think once he went for that takedown, he noticed he couldn't get it. And then all shit went, all hell went loose from there. Then on, went for the takedown in the second, and then he got easily reversed. I mean, like that was the easiest reverse probably of Allen's career. He just rolled around on top of him And I was thinking, okay, Muniz is on bottom. He's very active in his guard. He's gonna be able to do something. He was just flat. Wasn't moving, wasn't shrimping, wasn't doing anything. And then Allen just had his way with him. He was able to do what he wanted when he wanted, and it was a beautiful performance. And now he's cracked the top 15, 4-0 in his last 4 fights. He was 3-0 last year. He's looking to go undefeated this year, and I think he could kind of do it. And I think he can possibly crack the top 5. We'll see. And sky's the limit for him, really.
Yeah, he trains down at Kill Cliff with probably one of the best grapplers in all of MMA, Gilbert Burns. I mean, it's got to be beneficial to be training with that guy every day, in and out, and then phenomenal wrestlers and just other grapplers as well. But yeah, you got a striking coach in Henry Hoof, and you got grappling heavy like training partners. It's just a recipe, man. He made the right move when he left Duke Rufus fight team and then went down to Kill Cliff. Now he's just a whole nother animal. Muniz was sitting at number 11, and Brendan Allen wasn't even ranked. Where do you put him in the rankings, Jake?
I mean, I'd probably put Brendan Allen. I don't know if you give him that 11 spot, but 12, 13, happily, easily, he gets in there. Dude, like also, Allen was training in Vegas for a little bit too with Daniel Gracie. Daniel Gracie left Philly, moved to Vegas. A lot of people are kind of unhappy about that around here where I am in Philly. But Daniel Gracie, BJJ, man, top notch. And Brendan Allen, like you said, working at Kill Cliff and now over at Vegas a little bit too. It really paid off.
Daniel Gracie left Philly?
I had no idea.
A little bit of drama,
team?
yeah.
His team? What's going with his team?
His team is still in Philly. Daniel Gracie, and I believe Daniel Gracie still has a gym in Philly. I think he comes back every now and then, but he did take a lot of it to Vegas, open up a new gym. His family said, he said his family wanted to move there, so that's where he is full time right now.
Wow. That's I didn't know that, man, because he has a lot of solid fighters, man. Like, you got Sean Brady, you got a whole crew, man, out there. Sean Brady, you got Piper out there,
Piper, Jeremiah Wells. I mean, it goes Pat Sabatini, and now they're all with John Marquez. They also have Eddie Torres's gym, Taino MMA, and then they also have John Webb, who was in the UFC for a little while. So a little bit weird out here right now.
A major shakeup in Philly, man. That's there's a lot of guys coming up as well in Philly. You got Patrick Brady, a heavyweight that's probably going to get signed pretty soon by the UFC. He kind of trains with like the Dawkins brothers, as well as
he just signed another fight for Art of War on like April 22nd or something. So if he gets that win, he's in the UFC.
Oh, for sure, man. And he's a hell of a guy too, man. One of the best guys out there, man. Keep an eye on Patrick Brady. He's a solid guy. He's going to be a terror in that heavyweight division. Yeah, Philly, man, it's a little shakeup right there. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Now, when you look at the top, like, let's say 10 to 15, you got Dricus Duplessis. He's sitting at number 10. He's going to fight. He's fighting number 5, Derek Brunson, next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Imavov, who's, I don't know if he's fighting. He's at number 12. Gastelum at number 13. Is Gastelum fighting somebody? Is he fighting Imavov?
Chris Curtis.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Chris Curtis is number 14. So Gastelum is fighting number 14, Chris Curtis. You got Darren Till at number 15. Hey, if Darren Till's still in the UFC, if he's still fighting, why would you not put Brendan Allen against Darren Till? That's a name that you could kind of build Brendan Allen's name with, right? Darren Till is a name, I mean, he's well known in the fight industry. But that's probably not going to happen. I think Darren Till is probably going to take some time off. He's probably not going to fight for a while. So you got to throw him in there with give him the Sean Strickland rematch.
The rematch.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's a different animal. I think Sean Strickland is pretty much the same type of fighter, but Brendan Allen is a different animal now. So if I'm Brendan Allen, why not reach for the number 7 guy and say, let's get the rematch. Let's get 5 rounds. I mean, let's see what we can do. And I think that's Sean Strickland's only finish.
Yeah,
like only TKO finish ever. So it's a little backstory, a little.
They were chirping. They were chirping on Twitter a little bit. Him, Chris Curtis, and Sean Strickland. So maybe.
All right, let's see what they got. That sounds good. What do you do with Muniz, man? Now he's like this hype train. We get a reality check. Everybody gets a reality check. We get a reality check. The fans get a reality check. The bettors get a reality check. Someone messaged me and said, "Hey, this event, the house came out and won a lot of money from people, man. A lot of money. So, what do you do with Muniz, Fight Analyst? What do you do with him?
Man, I mean, you look at the top 15, right? A lot of them got fights right now, other than Roman Dolidze, Jack Hermanson. I know Imavov just had surgery, so he's gonna be out for a bit. Kevin Gastelum's got to fight. Chris Kerr's got to fight. I really don't know. You got to find him somewhere in that top 15. The only ones I can really think of is Dolidze and Hermanson, who are just a little bit above him. But are they really going to want to take the chance to really fight him? But the thing is, they I feel like they know that they can beat him because he's just a one-trick pony, and they kind of saw it there. So maybe they might take a chance there, but I feel like those are the only two logical choices within the top 15 that I think he could fight, because I know Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa are really campaigning to fight each other soon in a 5-round fight. So I think you'd have, me personally, Jack Hermanson or Roman Dolidze would be the right opponent for Andre Muniz.
Yeah, I think Dolidze is fighting Vettori in a couple of weeks, and then you got
right.
Gastelum fighting Curtis. You got what is it? Brunson fighting Duplessis next weekend.
Yep.
So I think you have to sit back and see how those fights shake out, unless Paulo Costa's gonna step up and fight his last fight on his contract. I think he's sitting on the last fight. His whole situation is just a shit show, right? Just a complete shit show. He's more focused on making secret juice videos than anything, and I support Paulo Costa, man. I think he should get paid more. I think he's right for holding out, because hey, every other sport they hold out all the time.
Yep.
Right, all the time they're holding out. You know, you always see it. Spring training, blah blah blah, didn't show up, or what do they have in football?
Training camp.
Yeah, training camp. Yeah, like they don't show up for, like shit like that. Like it happens all the time. And Paulo Costa is going through it with the UFC right now. I support him. He should be getting paid, man. He's a top 5 fighter, man. He fought for the title, and he's still on his contract from the Ultimate Fighter, which crazy. I believe he is. It's crazy, dude. Crazy. Yeah, those Ultimate Fighter contracts are not very good. They're not very good.
6 fights, or is that Contender Series?
Contender Series is a regular contract. I think Contender Series is like 3 fights. You get what is it, 15 and 15? Was it 10 and 10 or
12?
12 and 12. Yeah,
12.
It ranges. It ranges, right, from 12 and 12, 15 and 15. It all depends.
No nickel will get more than 12. Tell you that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it also your management too. You know what I mean? They're willing and dealing. It's not like you're guaranteed a contract. Right. I think a lot of people are stupid. They don't know that. Yeah, Dana White says, yeah, we got a contract for you, but this doesn't mean that you're just automatically going to sign it, right? Unless you just want to. Yeah, it's a business. So, people got to realize Contender Series is great, but they're giving you the lowest contract, just like the Ultimate Fighter. It's better off you just step in on short notice and sign a deal, to be honest.
And that's what fighters want, man. That's what, when I ask them, what's the next path? Contender Series tough. They're like, no, give me a short notice fight, because they get like a 4-fight deal at 20 and 20 or something.
Yeah, smarter if you're smart. But yeah, sometimes kids these days, they're not that smart, and they should be. All right, so Muniz, I think he's he might get bounced out, man. We might see him get bounced out, or Darren Till might get bounced out.
Darren Till's out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Darren Till's gone. He's gone.
Right? So we'll see what happens. Now the co-main event, which was Augusta Sakai. I got this pick wrong too, man. Sakai
Me
versus
too.
Dontel Mays, training partner of John Jones, right? And I thought Mays looked really good in his last 2 performances, and Augusta Sakai, I overlooked like his level of competition that he was losing to in his 4-fight losing streak. And it clouded my judgment. And I said, hey, Dontel Mays, he's going to go in there and like overpower him and maybe take him down and do his little bump and grind, you know what I mean, on him like he did to Josh Parisian. And none of that happened. Augusto Sakai looked stronger. He looked more powerful. He used the clinch really well. And then when it did get to the ground, Augusto Sakai was just dominating.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he was really emotional because you knew that was like his last chance to stick around, right? They probably weren't going to re-sign him if he lost. Man, it was just disappointing. If Dontel Mays is training like that against John Jones, of course John Jones is going to look good at heavyweight, right? Think about it. Because he didn't look much better than what William Knight looked like. You know what I mean? He didn't really do much in this fight for 15 minutes. He was dominated. Like, I'm surprised some of those rounds were like 10-8. Fight Analyst, what'd you think of Dontel Mays? And did you pick Sakai to win?
Yeah, of course. We're talking about Dontel Mays here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Dontel Mays. I mean, he looked exactly like how I expected him to look, like Dontel Mays. The dude he's not a good fighter. I mean, he's now 9-5. Still don't know how he's in the UFC, and he proved that he should not be in the UFC. You know, anytime he fights anybody that's somewhat decent, he's going to lose, and it showed here. And that doesn't take anything away from Augusto Sakai. He looked good. But once Sakai fights somebody that's even remotely decent, he's going to take another L. It's just, I mean, he looked good here. He looked faster than Mays. He looked bigger, stronger in the clinch, better grappler, better everywhere. But that's what you're supposed to do against Dontel Mays. You're supposed to be the better fighter. He's just not that good. And Sakai's been in there with great competition. He's beaten great competition. So I just don't. The only way Sakai was going to lose this is he has absolutely no chin whatsoever. If he had no chin and then Dontel Mays just hit him once, and then okay, his career is pretty much over. He can't take a punch anymore. Shit happens. You know, it's heavyweight. I get it, but that's not what happened here. I mean, his chin was still intact, and he absolutely dominated the fight like exactly he was supposed to do because he's the better fighter in every facet of the game because it's Dontel Mays. That's just how I had it.
Did you choose Dontel Mays, Jake?
Yeah, I chose Mays, and it wasn't because of Mays. It was because of the fade on Sakai. I was just, 4 fights in a row getting knocked out. You take that into account at heavyweight. And what Sakai did is he fought brilliantly. He fought with forward pressure against someone who doesn't have the knockout power of the past 4 opponents he's fought. And the forward pressure, you can't throw power off your back foot like that. So at heavyweight, the game plan worked out, and Sakai showed the fighter he used to be because coming up, that's all we saw Sakai do is clinch, grapple, and beat you up and ground and pound and got back to his old ways. So, yeah, I was wrong there, and Sakai is off my fade list now, I guess.
I want to see Sakai, since he's fought very high level of competition and he's back on the win column. I'd like to see him fight Chris Daukaus. I don't know if Chris Daukaus is going down to light heavyweight. I don't see that. You know what I mean? Like,
he's working on it.
He's working on it, but I don't know, man. I think I would like to see him one more time at heavyweight before he makes that huge leap, because he's a big dude. You know what I mean? Like both these guys. Sakai is a big dude, right? But I think it's a good matchup for both guys, right? Coming in. Dontel Mays, I don't know what to do with him. Give him Justin Tafa. Let Justin Tafa fight Dontel Mays. Yeah, because Justin Tafa is still so young in his career as a heavyweight. He doesn't even have 10 fights yet, I don't believe. And he's been in the UFC for most of his career now. I think you should continue giving Justin Tafa those types of matchups to get him comfortable in the octagon, because him and his brother, dude, Junior Tafa, they're going to be in the UFC for a long time. Give him some good matchups, and they're still super young, both of them. And Junior's younger than Justin. So I think give Junior Tafa Dontel Mays. I don't know, man. Just let the Tafa brothers, Tafa gang, do their thing. And give them some good matchups. And I think that's a pretty good matchup. What do you guys think? What do you think is next for Sakai, Jake?
Sakai, well, I was going to say if he lost, that's it. Out, obviously. But you get the win, you got to give him at least a 2-fight deal or something. You can't, I don't know. I guess you can cut him after that. It wasn't like he blew us out of the water, but he's back in the win column, and he certainly has potential and showed it before. The problem with Sakai is his chin is still an issue. Okay, anybody you throw him against who has legitimate power, it's not going to bode well for him. So I don't know. You got to give him to somebody low level. Like, I think, not calling Chris Daukaus low level, but I like that matchup a lot. Both guys kind of on the same similar spot. Daukaus started hot. Now he's coming down. Sakai started slow. Now he's coming up. Could be a good matchup. I'd love that matchup. So I'll campaign for Daukaus versus Sakai.
Garrett, what do you do with Maze? We can't hear you.
I keep putting myself on mute while I'm coughing over here. Why not throw him against Blagoy Ivanov? You know, I think it'll be a slow-paced grind of a match. I don't expect a knockout on either end. You know, so why not throw that together? I mean, it would give him a chance to get back into the top 15 because Blagoy right now is number 15. And I think they would be both evenly matched for the most part. They're slow, plodding heavyweights that come forward, throw some decent heat, and I think it'll be a decent fight. I think it would be very evenly matched, honestly.
Well, I don't think too many people are going to be excited to watch these guys fight in their
That's
next
true.
one. But there's some decent matchups out there. This game is about building talent, and I see these guys kind of being fodder for that. For somebody to build the next heavyweight talent, because in the heavyweight division, you've climbed so fast. Augusto Sakai climbed really fast up the ranks, right, with 4 straight wins, and then he dropped really fast with 4 straight losses. So we'll see what happens with those guys. The next fight, Tatiana Suarez, the return of Tatiana Suarez, the Habib that they call her, the Cain Velasquez of the women's divisions. And a lot of people were criticizing that performance. I thought, hey, she's been out for 3+ years, and in the first round, Montana De La Rosa did pretty much nothing. Even though Suarez was having a tough time, she was still in the dominant position most of the round, and then they were still complaining about that. It's like, did you forget who Tatiana Suarez is? That's what she does. She just does it better. She did it better before, but I saw the rust. Did you see the rust, Garrett, in this fight?
A little bit, but that's going to happen when you're out for 3+ years, having the surgeries that she's went through. But then also, Montana De La Rosa is no slouch. She's a good wrestler, good grappler, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in her own right. I mean, it wasn't an easy fight, and plus on top of it, she's going against a bigger girl. She's not going against strawweight. She put her against a strawweight, she's going to manhandle probably everybody that she faces. Much easier than she did against De La Rosa, who's much bigger than arguably everybody that she's really facing in her entire career. So I thought she looked good. Yes, early on, she let De La Rosa reverse some positions, get back to her feet, but then she went for the kill in the second round, and that was extremely impressive. And the way that De La Rosa was able to fight the submission as long as she did, I mean, you got to give her credit too, because most people would have tapped probably 10 to 15 seconds into that guillotine choke. It was impressive either way for both girls. Even in the loss, you got to give props there. And then Suarez in that win was very impressive.
Suarez, man, she's a talent, man, and her being away from the sport for that long and returning and having a performance like this in a weight class higher, one up against a bigger girl who is a talented fighter. I was impressed, man. I don't understand why people were hating on her. Jake, do you understand the hate, or they just hate women? There's men out there that just hate women.
They hate women. They're horrible people. I don't get that. No, I don't get the hate. Like, as far as ring rust, maybe 90 seconds worth of figuring it out again, a little slow pace, but she didn't. It was really like she's back, like she never left. I don't. If you're hating on that performance, get your ass on a wrestling mat somewhere. Go down to your basement on a rug and go roll around with your little brother so you can get tired and understand. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And there was like a point in that fight where like Suarez was going for a takedown, and Montana De La Rosa's Gigi's almost popped out, and everybody's like, and there was like a perfect like shot of it as well, right? I was just like, man, and we had that whole incident from last week about Jessica Andrade. Her whole thing popped out, and we didn't even get to see that, right? We didn't even know because they were in the grappling exchange, and she had the back, and it was kind of weird that she gave up the neck so quick, right? And it was just over that quick. But it seems like it's becoming an issue, man, because I've heard women talk about this in the past as well. They need to have like a higher cut, right? Like it shouldn't be dipping down so low. They need to have a higher cut, like around the neck or something like that. And of course, you want to expose the arms, but it's like they do have to fix that. Venom should know, you know what I mean? Venom is like a fight company. It's a fight gear company. It's not like Reebok. Reebok is like, I don't even know, like a tennis company or something like that. Where they started. Yeah, it's like, but Venom should know, man. Venom, they need to fix it, man. They need to fix it now because women should not be talking about this, right? They should not be talking about how, you know, that affected their performance, because at the end of the day, there's so many cameras on them while they're fighting. It's like that could be something that becomes a huge distraction. And then, you know, what do you think, man? What do you think they need to do with this? Do they just need to wear rash guards, Jake?
Yeah, that's tough because like if I'm a fighter and I'm constantly thinking about my Johnson coming out or something like that, I'm gonna be very distracted. I cannot go focus. So maybe I don't know if there's some sort of safeguard possible, like a backup plan. I don't know if you can put like something to cover like the actual, nipples or whatever, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know what you do. I don't design clothing. I don't have boobs. That's just, I wouldn't want to have to worry about that fighting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Because, you know, I have a daughter, man. If my daughter was fighting and then she's telling me like, I'll be like, just wear a full rash guard, sleeve, everything. You know what I mean?
Then it's like,
yeah.
Do you really want to like it?
No.
That sucks that you'd have to be like restricted to that, you know?
Yeah.
And it helps you to have skin exposed because then you can slip out of submissions, right? Because it's sweaty. If you have a rash guard, it doesn't help you, right? It actually helps your opponent. So they got to fix that. Fight Analyst, what do they do, man? Do they pasties? What do they got to do?
Well, just like you said, it's got to be up, up higher towards the neck. They have those, like they're out there. All you got to do is slap on the fucking logo, and then there you go. That's it. They're out there. They don't have to make it. Just buy it, put a logo on it, and there you go. And problem solved within seconds. I mean, it's that easy. But, who knows what they're going to do. But, because they've had that same type of outfit for however long the, women's MMA has been in the UFC, right? I don't think it's really changed. They give them options to use like the rash guard, but like you said, I mean, it takes away from their performance, not being able to slip out of submissions when you're sweating and things of that nature. It's a big disadvantage. So something needs to be done because it's hindering some of these performances, and it's only going to get worse. We're going to get a full-on nip slip soon enough. It's going to happen. If it's not happened already, it's definitely going to happen soon, and it's going to be on the pay-per-view.
Why not just eliminate the problem altogether? No tops. Everybody's bare. Nothing slipping out then.
Yeah, definitely nothing slipping out then. That's that's another level right there. That's Fight Circus level right there. We gotta I gotta call John Nutt and get him on that one. That would be pay-per-view worthy. Pay-per-view worthy. I would love to see that. A nightclub in Phuket, Thailand with topless fighting, right? On both genders. Yeah, we're there. Anyways, so hopefully they fix that, man. With all jokes aside, they need to fix that because it's taken away from the performances of these women, and these women are training just as hard as the men. And it's just like, what the hell is going on, man? They need to fix that stuff. What's wrong with them? Canada, man, they had a good night. 2 Canadians won, Mike Malott and Jasmine Jasudavicius. I can't.
Jasudavicius.
Yes, and who has the higher ceiling, do you think, Fight Analyst? From you watching them and dissecting their performances and their past performances in the UFC, who has the highest ceiling?
Oh, it's got to be Mike Malott, without a doubt. I mean, that's a no-brainer. He's looked phenomenal. I mean,
But look at it like in the divisions that they're in, though. At the same time,
I mean,
like that.
I don't have a very high ceiling on Jasmine because she still has not evolved on the feet. Her striking is still the same. She's still not a good striker. and she still revolves around getting her opponent to the mat. She doesn't get her opponent to the mat, she's losing every single fight that she fights in the flyweight division because everybody's been a better striker than her. She's been outstruck in every one of her fights thus far. In her last 4 fights, she's been outstruck by 2 strawweights and 2 flyweights. So unless she just somehow gets better at striking, then I don't see her ceiling being very high. She's very good hitting her grappling. She's very good in top control. She looked phenomenal in her body lock takedowns and all of that. But then she's going against someone who definitely has never faced anyone even remotely on the same wavelength in terms of grappling and wrestling that she has, and it really showed. And that's why she absolutely dominated her in that fashion. But on the feet, it was no contest. She was absolutely getting torched on the feet. Like, she was getting lit up. Granted, for her, she's got a chin for days. So some of that, that bodes well for her because she's not really going to get finished by a majority of those in the flyweight division because a lot of people don't hit like Fernandez does, all right? So that bodes well for her. So she'll be able to get in, probably utilize a lot of her clinch takedowns like she's been doing. But Mike Malott, I mean, he's shown he's got knockout power. He's got the wrestling. He's got the submission game. And what he did against Johan Linnaeus, he looked phenomenal. He beat him in every aspect of that fight. Johan had nothing for him on the feet. He had nothing for him in the grappling. The way he was able to cinch in that arm triangle from half guard, didn't even need to transition there. And it was just a thing of beauty. I thought it was a phenomenal performance, man. And I think the sky's the limit for him. Give him a tougher opponent. And actually, I can't even say tougher because I think Johan's a good fighter in his own right. But I just want to see him against some legit competition because that dude he's legit, man. He really is.
Jake, do you agree with him?
Yeah, I think Mike Malott's very good. Definitely has a higher ceiling. I mean, Jazzy's 33. He's 31. He's undefeated in the UFC. She's got a loss. Everything's boding for him to be the guy that's on top for Canada. I think he has a lot of potential, especially with Dana teasing a Canada card last night. Put Mike Malott in there with top competition on the main card. Have him blow up.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I think with the skill set that Jasmine has right now, if she would have came in during the Ronda Rousey era, she would have been dominant.
Yep.
Yeah.
She would have been very dominant, right? But now the skill levels have, elevated so much. And the thing is, Jasmine's only in 10 fights into her career, right? So it gives her a lot of room. And I think she's going to be she's kind of up there in age, but it gives her room to improve. And I think we'll see an improved version as we go. But Mike Malott is there right now, right? Like, he's ready right now. Who knows what's going to be in the future in the next 5 years for both these Canadians? But I feel like they're going to win and they're going to lose their fair share. But I think these are 2 Canadians that we could look forward to watching their fights and watching their development throughout the years. It's not like a Dontel Mays situation, right? It's not like that.
No.
Dontel Mays, we're not hating on you, Dontel. We're just like, we didn't like your performance. Yeah. Dontel Mays will kill all of us. And he might kill all of us at the same time. That's
easy.
Yeah, that's
easy. But real quick, you brought up a good point about Jazzy. I just, before we get too far, you said she's only 10 fights in. She started MMA, man, when she was 27 years old.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that when I said that. So her ceiling very well could be way up there.
Yeah, and she's strong for that division. When she gets you down and when she gets you in that body lock, you could tell the strength advantage she has against a lot of these girls. And I've talked to a lot of girls that have trained with Jasmine in Las Vegas, and they say her wrestling is phenomenal. Like, her, just like it's natural for her because it's not like she was a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, she's from Canada. Like, how many Canadian wrestlers do you know? None.
Jazzy.
Yeah, her. Well, she's kind of like the GSP thing. They picked up the wrestling while they started training MMA, right? And she looks really good. If she could kind of like build off that wrestling base to the point where she could strike and get close to people or like corner people against the cage and then get them down and do what she does, she could win a lot of fights, man. She might get into that situation where, oh yeah, her striking is not that good and she's going to have a matchup where you're like, oh, she's not going to be able to like get this girl down. And she might have those moments where she improves her striking to the level where she could get in close and then boom, get them down, pound them out and get a finish or something. You know what I mean? Because I picked Gabriella to win this fight because I thought Gabriella was going to be able to defend the takedowns, but she looked flat and she kind of did what Muniz did when she got taken down. She just kind of like laid there.
Mm-hmm.
right? And then Jasmine got into that crucifix position pretty easily and was, raining down those elbows. So yeah, Mike Malott, he's good. But Johan, I'm disappointed by him, man. He just he shit the bed. Like what was going on with that guy, right? Like it was very, very bad. Trevor Peak. Who doesn't like Trevor Peak though? Who doesn't like Trevor Peak? Eric Gonzalez. He's a guy who will brawl with you, but I felt like he didn't want to brawl in this fight. I felt like he wanted to come in here with a game plan, but then Trevor Peak just put it on him to the point where man, I gotta throw everything out the kitchen, out the window, throw the kitchen sink at him. And when you go blow for blow with Trevor Peak, we just saw that it does not work out.
Doesn't work
too good. 1 second left in the first round. He gets that finish. And those final 2 shots, dude, where he was just sitting there against the cage, and then Trevor just punched. Oh man, that was brutal, man. Eric Gonzalez is a cool dude. I like him a lot. Trevor Peak, man, he used to fight in barns, like unsanctioned barn fights, like in bars in like the South, like just insane. His story is gonna come out soon, I bet you. And yeah, he calls you sir. Like he's the Southern boy. He calls you sir. So what'd you think? What'd you think of that fight, Jake?
Dude, that was mayhem because Gonzalez started out, like you said, game plan, kind of piecing Trevor apart. I was like, whoa, I'm not expecting this. Trevor Peak's supposed to be the striker here. And then he hit him with 1 punch and the whole fight changed. He emptied the gas tank. It was like 1-2, hook, hammer fist. It was utter nonsense. It was so enjoyable to watch. And it worries me a little bit going forward in his career. I don't know how many fights he can have success leaving his chin up there and just throwing. But it's very entertaining, and it worked this time. So props off, Peak. Props off, or hats off.
Yeah, definitely. Fight Analyst, did you take Peak in this one? You're on mute.
Always when I'm coughing, man. All right.
Respect.
Man, I parlayed him and Mike Malott, so I did cash out. I was a little worried a little bit early on because he was throwing wild. He was going crazy out there, but crazy sometimes works, especially in this case. But man, that was insane. The dude went balls to the wall. He was able to get up after getting taken down like 25 times. Gonzalez couldn't hold him down. All those types of reversals. Still somehow had the ability to wing heavy shots, have the cardio to do so. And, oh, man, it was crazy. It was crazy. I love the guy. I mean, he's got a great personality. I think he's someone that everybody's going to love watching fight because he's super exciting. He's got that personality as well. I think he's got a lot to work on, but, he's still young in his career. He's only 8-0 now. So I think he's going to get better, more time in there, get some more wins under his belt, and I'm just going to keep progressing. I mean, I like him. He's fun to watch. He's going to knock a lot of people out. He's going to be fan-friendly. He's probably going to get a shit ton of fans. He probably got a shit ton of followers across social media after that win in that post-fight speech. So kudos to him, man. And 50K bonus too, no less.
Everybody got a bonus on this card. It's like, why don't you just do it for every card? Why are you choosing cards to do 50K? Like, what is the Australian card? It's like, why didn't you give them bonuses? There was a bunch of bonuses you should have gave out. Justin Tafa, Kulabau was a sick win, right? That fight was crazy, and he got the submission in, I believe, the 3rd round. Loma Luke Bubmi, she got her first finish. You didn't give her a bonus, but what I heard was like they threw her some money, but maybe they threw them money. It's just not official. Who knows? But
I'm assuming because the main event was off, so you're not doling out the 400K or so that you're doling out for those 2 main event fighters. So now you're able to divvy out a little bit to all the 6 post-fight finishes for everybody.
But who cares? They're a multi-billion-dollar company, right?
I agree with you. They should do it regardless, but I'm pretty sure that's probably why they had it budgeted in. They're going to send out this money, so they're like, okay, might as well give it out to everybody that got the finish. It's BS. They should do it regardless of the fact. But
UFC is running away like in the Monopoly game where the guy is holding like 2 bags of cash, and they're running from every event like that because they're just making crazy money, right? I'm telling you. Now, Peaks is 8-0, right? Undefeated. And then in the first fight of the night, you had Nurullo Aliyev, who's 9-0. Though that would be a test for Peak. A style like
don't
that.
do that. Don't do that. Do
They're
not
both
do that to
lightweights
him.
too.
Don't do it to him. I mean, that would not bode well whatsoever. I mean, I think Ali is probably top 15 right now, honestly.
Oh, dude, he's good. Like, he's not the most
Mini
exciting,
Khabib.
but he's good. Yeah, he's good. Last part of our recap, and then we'll get into some of the current event news stuff that I want to get into with you guys. Jordan Levitt, Ode Osborne, Joe Solecki, who had the better performance? Who would it, if you had one bonus to give out, who would you give the bonus to? Jake.
It's hard because performance-wise, I'm going Solecki, but Monkey King with his like post-fight speech, his suit, his like honesty, getting the first knockout, like real knockout, he said. I gotta go with Jordan.
What about you, Fight Analyst?
Definitely Jordan Levitt. I mean, that was a phenomenal performance. I mean, that was the best Jordan Levitt we've ever seen. He actually threw punches for once.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't throw kicks. He was throwing punches, knees, elbows. I mean, the dude looked like a legit MMA fighter now. He wasn't just relying on taking anybody down and dominating him there. He looked comfortable in his stand-up. He was getting some work in there, took some shots. He looked good. I thought it was a phenomenal performance, man. Hats off to him. Sky's the limit for him. I think he's going to go up from here. Don't give him some Victor Martinez. I mean, give him some good competition. I mean, he's fought some good competition. Giving him Victor Martinez was a huge step down in competition. I was surprised when they gave it to him, honestly.
Well, this is the Jordan Levitt we expected against Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that right now. He kind of, like I said earlier, an expression I like to use, he shit the bed against Paddy Pimblett. I think he let that moment get to him, and we saw what Jordan Levitt can really do. But man, you can't just be the ultimate apex champion. You know what I mean? You got to be able to go out there in front of crowds and win fights, because at the end of the day, that's where the big fights are, right? Pay-per-views, full stadium, full arenas, you know what I mean? Like, people yelling at you, people throwing shit at you. Like, you got to be used to that. You got to be able to fight in front of that type of environment. If you can't, if they're going to pay you money to be the ultimate apex champion, why not? You know what I mean? Why not just get paid? And like a lot of these guys, their contract situations, I understand why they don't want to fight better competition because they're like, why would I fight better competition and take a bigger risk when I could fight the Victor Martinez's and build a win streak, get a better contract? Then, okay, now I'm going to start calling out fools. And I think a lot of dudes are starting to do that now. They're starting to like understand the game. You know what I mean? Because when I interview fighters, they talk about that. Some of them, they're like, hey, I got to burn out my contract. This is my first contract. I can't just be fighting guys, like taking risky like matchups. You know what I mean? Because this is your career. This is not just like, I'll just fight anybody. Of course, that's what Dana White promotes. Is like, I like the guys that are gonna anytime, anywhere. Yeah, of course, right? And there are some guys out there that can do that have the skill set, that have the mentality, that are talented like that. But not everybody. Some people have to choose the right career path. And Jordan Levitt, I think he should continue fighting in the apex and fighting Victor Martinez's and Joe Solecki. I thought Joe Solecki is going to be, I think he's like one of those guys that's just going to fly under the radar for a long time. And the next thing you know, he's like 10-1 in the UFC. Because right now, I think he's like 5-1 or 6-1 in that lightweight division, just flying under the radar. Nobody really paying attention to it, right? And but also he's had a lot of fights fall through it. You know what I mean? So yeah. We'll see. I like Joe Solecki. He's one of the nicest guys in the world as well.
Sick grappler. So good.
Yeah. And he has like crazy training partner. John Salter, man. Like, that's who his main training partner is.
They're the same person. They're the two fighters that fly under the radar whenever they fight. They're like, oh, John Salter. He's like, and remember when he went for and fought for the title? They're like, he's fighting for the title? Really? Because he's been winning fights. These guys just win fights, and then somehow they're fighting for a title.
All right, man. There you go, everybody. Make sure to subscribe and like if you're watching, and leave a comment if you have anything to say, and we'll put it up on the screen. Let's get into the first topic of the reaction portion of the show, is this whole situation, man. It's been popping up on social media, and I wanted to put this up because you guys cover the sport just as much as I do. And here we go, right? We got this situation about a fighter asking for $100 for an interview, and the first thing is shout out to Dave from Best Fight Picks. He does a lot of good breakdowns and he gives a lot of solid picks. So go follow him. But the first thing I gotta say about this is whoever was DMing fighters to get interviews, you shouldn't have put this out there. Why put out DMs? Why screenshot DM? That's the first thing that you should have not done, is expose private messages, right? These are private messages at the end of the day, right? And you shouldn't have done that, right? And you open up, if you're gonna express, you know what I mean, like express something that happened, you should kind of like keep it private. You could say like what happened, but leave names out of it,
Right.
and then have people discuss what was going on, what happened, right? Because first off, this all exploded because of the Patty Pimblett thing, right? He wanted to get paid by Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani exposed, private messages as well. You know what I mean? This in kind of the same way, and exposed. I guess like you're following in Ariel Helwani's footsteps. Whoever this, I guess he's a reporter. I don't know. Jake, do you know more than me about this? Like, do you know who this guy is?
I don't know who this guy is. I know that fighters have asked me to pay before, and I said no, thank you, and that's as far as it's gone, and nobody's ever known about it because it doesn't matter. Yeah, don't air that DM. Keep that to yourself and move on. Learn some grammar, in my opinion. You're going to hit somebody up. I'm not trying to diss you, but come on, take a little time sending that message. And then, the flip side of things, it's weird that a fighter's asking for $100 for an interview. I'm actually interviewing Dumas in a couple days, I hope. I don't know if I'm going to ask him about this yet. I don't know if it's going to be relevant, but it's just a weird situation all around on both sides. Like, let's look at that message. That's such an odd exchange between a UFC fighter and a journalist, reporter, whatever they call themselves.
Yeah, and also, I guess Dumas did an interview after this first initial exchange, and then the guy went and commented on the post or whatnot, and that's what you see at the bottom. Go comment on someone else's whatever. Yeah, it's just the grammar is terrible. But Fight Analyst, you don't really interview fighters, so from your perspective, like, how do you see this?
I don't hate on Dumas trying to get some bread. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, these fighters, they need to make money any which way possible because they're trying to go through the motions, trying to, go through fight camp and not have to work full time. So I have no fault there with him. But personally, I wouldn't obviously pay anybody for an interview. I've done some interviews in the past and they're like, yeah, sure, 15, 20 minutes of your time helps them gain exposure, this and that sort. And then on the other token, why? You don't need to expose a fighter. What are you gaining? Nothing. You're going to look like a schmuck, like you are. And now other fighters are going to be like, well, I ain't going to work with you now because you're airing out DMs that have absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. No one needs to see that. And then if you look down there, you see Danny Ruby and then Malki Kawa also going at each other about this situation because they obviously hate each other.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's so yeah,
that's hilarious.
It also doesn't surprise me it's coming from someone from First Round Management. Let's just put it that way, but I know First Round Management definitely had nothing to do with him telling Dumas to go and ask for money. I'm sure that was on his own doing, trying to make some bread, and I have nothing against that, honestly.
It's not a good look for the journalist, in my opinion, because the first time around when I saw Look go comment on someone else that host shit, I was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. But now that you said that's coming from context of him commenting that on somebody else's interview, yeah, man, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yo, this is the way I look at it, right? And I've done interviews with first round management fighters. I've done interviews with Ruby fighters over the past, I don't even know how many years. And I've had always good experiences with both management groups, right? And I've never been asked to get paid for any interviews from either management group, and I've never been asked to be paid for any interview ever. Never someone has asked me for money for an interview. And I don't even consider myself a journalist. Like, I don't even consider myself a reporter. Like, I consider myself a content creator or actually I'm a promoter. Actually, I'm a promoter of fighters. That's what I do, is like I bring fighters on, interview them to promote them. Like, I'm not a journalist. This is what I do. So there's a problem with that as well. It's like, who's a journalist and who's a reporter?
Yeah, it's weird.
And who's a YouTuber? Like, what are you, right? Are like because I think Abe Kawa mentioned that anybody could buy a mic and a camera and get Zoom and interview fighters. Anybody can. That's true, right? But if you're just starting out, are you a journalist right away? Like, don't you have to earn that title? You know what I mean? Like, if you have a YouTube page, does that mean you're a journalist? Does that mean, like, do you work for a website? Have you been covering this sport for a long time? Like, did you go to school for journalism? I'm not saying you have to do these things, right? But these things help to establish like what your position is in this sport, right? And I think like paying for interviews is not something that I would ever do myself, right? And if a fighter wants to ask for money, then he's gonna ask for money. You know what I mean? Like, you don't decide what the fighters should do. Like, if they want money to do something, then they want money to do something. Like, what can you do? You know what I mean? But putting it all out there and exposing a fighter and all of that, that's not, is that journalism? Is that like, are you living up to like the ethics of journalism? Maybe you are. I don't know. Like, Jake, I don't know. I'm not a journalist, so I don't know, Jake. Like,
see, I don't consider myself a journalist either. I didn't go to school for any of this. I consider myself a content producer because at the end of the day, that's what I do. I produce content. And like you said, that's a good way of putting it too. I promote fighters. I love to do that. I get paid to do that. Sometimes it's a good time. I still know that there's a thing called journalistic integrity. And a part of that is, no, you don't go air out this. You said it great. A fighter has every right to ask for $10 million to go on Ariel Helwani, $100 to go on whoever this guy is, podcast, whatever. You also have every right to politely say, no, thank you, moving on. Like I said, that's happened twice to me before. I said, no, thank you, went our separate ways, no ill will at all. Airing it out, that's not cool. And if you are a journalist, not a good look, not the way to behave, in my opinion.
No, now you're out there as someone that will maybe just like reveal information if you found out. Like, nobody can trust you in a way, right? If you do this stuff. And one thing that I have is I do have trust with people in this industry, that I'm not going to go out there and air people out, because I've known a lot of things ahead of fights and a lot of things that's going on behind the scenes, but I'm not going to go out on Twitter and screen capture my DMs or like my voice calls or whatever, phone calls or whatever it is, right? But in this game, dude, like in MMA, like there's so much like conflict of interest that, and I did a whole show with somebody last week about conflict of interest, and it's riddled in this game. So it's just hard to say like what's right and what's wrong. But if they ask, they asked. And if you can't pay them, or if you don't want to pay them, move on. That's it. Don't air out people, because you don't know what's going to happen the next time. You could always revisit this guy. You could always revisit this fighter and say, yo, you know what I mean? Like, I see you got a fight coming up. You know, are you doing any media? You know, could we set a time to talk and promote the fight? And maybe this time around, he's going to do it, and he's not going to ask you for money, right? Maybe he doesn't even know that you shouldn't even be charging for money. This guy's making his UFC debut, right? Maybe he thought from the Patty thing that he's like, oh, if he's charging money, maybe I should be charging money for an interview. You know what I mean? And the fighter has every right to not interview with you.
Yeah.
You should not be offended. You know what I mean? No. You should not get on a high horse and say like, I'm just trying to do my job. And You don't need to do that. There's no high horse for that. Like, you just move on and go to the next guy. If the fighter or the athlete or whoever is going to allow you and give you their time, because think about it, they're going through a training camp. You ever been to a training camp? You don't know how hectic that is for their life. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Like, they might even be working another job, a full-time job, going through a training camp for a UFC fight, and you're asking them for their time. Maybe their time is worth this much money, right? And this is what they're asking for. And if they do, they do. But on the flip side, if you do pay them the money, then there's some kind of weird Pandora's box you're opening as well. You know what I mean? And that's another conversation. But if you believe that you're a journalist, if you believe that you're a reporter in this game, then you would never pay for the interview ever.
Yeah.
You would never ever pay for that interview. That's just, your integrity's gone. Like, what else are you gonna pay for? Right? What else?
It can't even be like, you can't even say that's like valid, confident information because there's money behind it. It makes it more of a narrative rather than the facts.
Exactly. And in this world now with like YouTube and podcasts and things like that, it's weird, man. It's a weird like environment to be in. And I'm just gonna put it out there, man. I'm a promoter of fighters, and fighters give me their time to come on and chat, and they never know what I'm gonna ask them. They don't know shit. And I ask them whatever I feel like asking them. And my line of questioning might be different from like the other people that do interviews. You know what I mean? There's like you got the big names out there, like the Ariels and the Submission Undergrounds and what is it? And James
Okamoto.
Lynch and the Akamotos and people like that. Their styles are all different, right? And would you consider submission radio journalists?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
maybe, right? Maybe
they cover some stories, right?
But it's all to them. You know what I mean? It's depending on what they feel like they are, right?
Yeah, because I'm sure some people think I'm a journalist and think you're a journalist. I think I'm a content producer. You think you're a promoter. It doesn't really matter. We're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, we are. And I think like it's all perspective, and sometimes the fighter doesn't believe that you are a person that they should be talking to. You know what I mean? And maybe the fighters maybe they're confused as well. We don't know yet, right? And if Jake does get an interview with Dumas, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in that. Yeah, watch that interview. Yeah, look out for that. It's coming soon. Fight Analyst, what do you think, man? Should you be, at the end of the day, should a journalist be paying for interviews?
No, man. No, you guys hit it nail on the head, right? You shouldn't be paying for interviews because, at the end of the day, you're trying to help them, right? You're trying to help them grow their fan base as well as them help grow your fan base and so on and so forth. It's kind of like a growing thing together. And then you paying for it, it's just gonna what else are you gonna be paying for? Is that information really sincere? Is it really, like you guys said, is that facts? Is that factual information, or is that paid for information because you want them to say this, that, or the other? Maybe you're paying for it, but here's the list of questions I'm going to give you. I need these answers so it can make for a better content. You don't know, and that's just not the way it's supposed to be. But I also don't think fighters, they could do as they please. If they don't want to do it for free, then they don't have to do it for free. If they want to get paid for it, then they could get paid for it. If someone was willing to do it, I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. These fighters need to get money with any which way possible. And if getting paid via, interviews is one way avenue to make it done, while they're in fight camp, then more power to them. But I just don't think it should happen, honestly. And this whole situation should not be happening. This situation shouldn't even be a thought, and we shouldn't even be talking about it because it shouldn't have been out there in the public, to be honest with you. It's just crazy to think about it, honestly.
Yeah, and also like know your position as well. If you're a small, let's say you got like 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube or whatever, and and then you're reaching for the stars and trying to interview UFC fighters. Maybe the UFC fighter will see that and say, hey, that's not worth my time, right? And then maybe you need to go back and, okay, let's get some regional guys. Let's get some because regional guys they're down for interviews all the time, right? Are you
and they get into the UFC?
Exactly, right? And maybe that's how you build yourself, right? You build yourself. Like my best example is like Alex Volkanovski. Like I've known Alex Volkanovski before the UFC. So like, have I ever paid Alex Volkanovski for an interview? Never. And he's the guy that could probably ask for money, right? Think about it, right? Like, but he gives me time from his busy schedule, and he has the biggest fights, right now to, like he's the champion, pound champ status and all of that stuff. So I think this is just going to continue. I think we're going to see more of this in the future. And if someone starts paying, then it's going to open up a bad domino effect. I'm just going to put that out there. Bad domino effect. So please, be careful what you do, and be careful of calling yourself a journalist or a reporter, because you might not be one, but you think you are. Don't do that. All right, now let's move on to the next topic. This one is a crazy one, yo. Like, let me see. Let me put this up. Real quick. This one is a crazy one, yo. All right, here we go. All right. Shout out to MMA News, man. These guys always have the news up, man. Lots of articles, and they write up my interviews. So I love these guys. So shout out to these guys at MMA News. Even I was featured on one of their articles, which was wild. I never expected that. But shout out to these guys. But this one is crazy, right? This whole situation. Man allegedly shot and killed friend during argument about MMA. So according to the report from local news outlet Arizona's Family, Phoenix police responded to a 911 call around 9 p.m. on Tuesday, February 21st, and arrived to find Dylan Forbes had been shot. The 24-year-old was declared dead at the scene shortly after authorities arrived. Cameron Drake was currently in police custody and facing a second-degree murder charge for allegedly shooting Forbes while the two 24-year-olds were in a car together. And let's go down. Let's see. And where does it say? Okay, here we go. The unnamed third passenger claimed that he'd been attempting to defuse a heated discussion the pair were having about MMA and boxing when Drake pulled out a gun and shot Forbes for no reason. This dude shot his friend for an argument about boxing and MMA. Like, Fight Analyst, how heated are your discussions about fighting with people you know?
Not anything remotely close to that. Then again, I don't have many close friends that watch MMA and boxing, but this does not surprise me in the slightest bit. I mean, you could go to your local Buffalo Wild Wings and probably see a shootout happen during a UFC event, because everybody goes absolutely ape shit, thinking they can fight, they know fighting and this, that, and the other. So not surprised this happened, but fucking crazy. People are fucking crazy in this world, man. Like, shooting somebody over an argument about MMA and boxing. I feel like that was gonna happen no matter what the argument was about at some point in time.
Yeah, like, I understand if you shoot somebody you don't know. But you shot your friend, man. Like, you guys are in a car together. Like, you guys are like known each other for a while, right? Like, it's sometimes I say the wildest things to my friends, like to people that I know that I'm close with. Like, I'll say some things that I would never say to other people, to my friends, like and it would be like multiple times throughout a phone conversation, right? Just the wildest things. And these guys went really Jake, like, have you ever gotten in a fight over sports?
Oh, probably. But the beauty about MMA is you just say, hey, let's go grapple and see who's really about it. But I feel like the really important thing about this story is we need to figure out what this argument was. This is like the argument of the century. What could it have been?
Do you think they were fighting over, like, maybe one of the guys was a boxer and the other guy was he trained MMA and the other guy trained just boxing, and they were arguing about like who could beat whose ass?
That makes sense, because that's shootable. That's like a shootable worthy offense.
Yes, and maybe the guy that was the boxer knew that he was gonna get his ass beat because they were about to step out the car. They pulled out the strap and banged him out in the car and killed him. Maybe that was the situation, right? Like,
Solved it.
there's a lot of speculation out here right now about like what exactly happened. We need to get what's his. We need to get Drake. We need to get Drake on the podcast
Yeah.
to talk about this whole situation. Who's going to get the Drake interview? Who's going to get the first Drake interview? James, I see James. James said media should never pay for interviews just about. Yes, James, we know. I saw the video, James. Good video that you made about the whole situation. But James is a legit journalist reporter. I'm not, you know what I mean? So like he has his opinions. I have mine. Yeah. This James, you need to get this guy Drake on the show and talk about this whole situation. I think that would blow up. I think that would. Jake, go for it, man. Maybe we got to reach out.
That's all James, dude. I'd watch that multiple times in a row.
Yeah, I'll share that. Like I'll clip that. That's all. These guys are insane, right? Like I've seen fights happen, and you see those reaction videos online, right? Of like guys' teams losing, and then they're like throwing the TVs across the room or punching the TVs and burning jerseys, and like that's for like football or basketball or something like that, not for MMA, right? You don't really see it, but when there's gambling involved, I could see that happening. But just a straight up argument about MMA and boxing, it's like that's like the oldest argument in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's like pointless now. We know that if an trained MMA fighter fought a boxer, that MMA fighter would slam that boxer on his head and choke him to death. That's what would happen.
One calf kick.
Exactly, right? One calf kick, a double leg, even a single leg, drop him on his head, and a old school pride soccer kick to the face, and it's over. Right? So, you probably have no way to defend it.
But boxers beat up MMA fighters in boxing matches. It sucks.
All the time, dude. Go to the gyms. Go to boxing gyms. Go to MMA gyms where they teach boxing and see the guys that train box. I've sparred boxing guys, and I don't really train boxing. I do like the Muay Thai and MMA striking, and then I'm getting lit up, right? Because just the distance and just the way that they move is completely different, man. And you can't throw kicks. So you can't slam those calf kicks or those, leg kicks to the thigh. So it's like you only have 2 weapons.
Yeah, it's hard.
I
prefer 8.
Yeah, 8 is way better. Or 9. You throw in the headbutts, it's all good, right? The left way. But yeah, man, I hope we don't see this in the news more. But I'm afraid that it's like that world star hip hop effect. Remember back in the day? I don't even know. They still probably have it now. I remember
World
when
Star.
It was. Yeah, World Star. Like you hear it in every video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it should be on World Star. Like it blows you up. Like you get famous off of it. And then that's when I realized, kids know how to fight nowadays way better than kids when I was growing up, because they show like technique. Like they go and train like at the gyms. And I think a lot of kids, they go train at the gyms because they know that they're gonna fight in the street. And that's smart, though. Yeah. I'm going to say it. It's smart. Kids are smart. They're dumb smart. Like, this is something that is a dumb smart thing to happen. Yeah, so that's pretty wild. Yeah, that's just something, something funny. And
rest in peace.
Rest in peace for sure, man. This guy. Is this the guy that got shot, or is this the guy that shot the guy?
He's the shooter.
He's definitely
he's a shooter. He looks like a wrestler, though, right? He looks like an Arizona State.
Got that triangle neck.
Exactly, and the hair too. He got that old school Cain Velasquez perm from Arizona State, maybe. I don't know, man. But yeah, that's pretty wild, man. Let's get to the next one. We're gonna get into this and we'll get out of here. Michael Bisping weighs in on John Jones's USADA reparations. Now, let's get into what these reparations are, right? Do you guys have a little bit more info about this? Do you guys understand this a little bit better than I do? Because I just saw this on the news. And
so is this that they basically changed the USADA rules for UFC 285?
Yeah. For John Jones. Or not for John Jones, just for everybody.
I guess from my understanding, USADA recently changed a test and the limits you can get of a certain substance. And the new limit would have made all of John Jones' past violations irrelevant. He wouldn't have popped, essentially. It would have been a safe amount of whatever he was caught with. So it just sounds like Dana White and the UFC is moving another event, so to speak, for John Jones. Typical fashion.
Man, this is just a can of worms right here, man. We're opening a big can of worms here. And we just had that IV fiasco just recently as well, which involves USADA. USADA says you could have 100 milliliters every 12 hours if its doctors approved. And then you got Australia saying, the commission in Australia says that you cannot take any kind of IVs, no matter what, basically. And then now they're, what is it? What was it? Australia said what? They said that they have no reason to think that anybody took any IVs. And man, I've heard some stuff behind the scenes that it's not good, man. And a lot of fighters, man, it seems like they've known that fighters are taking IVs as well, just from speaking with them. And they're kind of angry about that as well. And they think that, something should be done about it, because you had Ali post that, 2 to 3 liters, which he probably didn't know what liters and milliliters were. Because if you're doing 2 to 3 liters, that's like thousands of liters, milliliters, which is not allowed. And then he erased that because someone told him, like, yo, you're probably wrong. But USADA, like, do you think they should overturn things that are in the past because USADA is changing this? I don't think so. Nah. I think you should keep it what it is. The reason why is because there was something there. Yeah. There was something there, right? Like, it's not like there was nothing there. There was something there. And when there's smoke, like, I think this being said, that when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And there was something there. So unless he can prove that there was nothing there, like he took something that was responsible for it, you know what I mean? Like, what can you do about it? Like, you can't just overturn wins, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy, dude. John Jones has had the craziest career, I think, and it's just like he's one of the greatest of all time at the same time, which, if this was any other fighter, they would have never been through all of this, right? Because USADA wouldn't done anything for them. They would have just been like, who cares? This is just like, a journeyman, right?
Imagine if like Tom Brady or LeBron James got into as many issues as John Jones does. Like, why can't our sport just have a GOAT without all the extra bullshit around it?
I mean, Tom Brady has been through his fair share of accusations during his time, but yeah, I agree with you there, though.
Yeah, John Jones says, John Jones should get reparations for his USADA suspensions, given the science change and now tests under 100 picograms per milliliter. Is that milliliter? Are not positive anymore. None of his positive tests would be positive under the current rules. His no contest against DC should be restored to a win. There you go. Yeah. Very plain and simple, like what they're trying to do. And I think that when there's smoke, there's fire. If there's a little bit there, that means something was there, right? You can't deny that. Sure. Unless you have proof that you took something. I think there's fighters now that are able to kind of go back and find whatever they took and show the proof of, like, this is what I took. This is why I tested. I think Bobby Green was in that situation, right? Where he tested positive and then he went and got the product from Walmart. Why are you taking supplements from Walmart?
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
You have the UFC PI.
Wasn't it like cream? A cream? Yeah, it was something like cream or something. It was weird.
You have the UFC PI that could provide you everything for free.
Yeah.
Like, fighters are telling me, like, the PI provides everything for free. Why would you go to a store when they could ship everything to you, right? Yeah. Supplements and all that. Thorn. If you're taking Thorn and you pop, that's Thorn. Thorn did something wrong, and I think they're a sponsor for the UFC PI. So, like, anything that they're making is USADA approved, most likely, right? So, man, overturning, man, it would be wild if, like, this whole situation, nothing was actually in it, and let's say somebody put something in John Jones's just because they hate John Jones. Let's put on the tinfoil hat. You know what I mean?
It's possible.
Yeah, it is. It is possible, man. It's just DC, I would be mad if I'm DC, right? Because, you know, there's always going to be that question mark because John Jones was the only guy that he could never beat, you know, and it's always going to be hanging over his head. Like if DC beat John Jones, DC would be in the argument for like greatest of all time, right? Past John Jones. And the crazy part is we do have a guy that's the greatest of all time that has nothing, but nobody cares, which is Demetrius Johnson. And even John Jones doesn't even care because he doesn't even put him in the top 5 of his list of the greatest fighters of all time, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, and what can you do, man? What can you do? It seems like the more controversy you have, the better chance of GOAT status.
This almost makes me curious as to if this is related to McGregor on Tough. I'm not saying McGregor's on steroids, but he's huge. Okay, to say it would. Joe Rogan said this on his podcast. McGregor would have been literally smart to take something after that injury to build himself back up, get it out of his system, get back to being clean. You know, you're 35, however old he is. Your testosterone is not the same as you were when you're 18, 25 years old. So to take a little TRT to recover from an injury, that's one thing. But now, Tough 31, still no USADA test. The levels are lowering for USADA. Is this really because of John Jones, or is this to prep for McGregor's hot piss coming in soon?
I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy, man. We got a comment from 4 Ounce to Freedom.
That's my boy Zach.
Yeah, Zach. And this must be his name. Must be a reference to Sublime. It's got to be, right?
Yeah, he's a big Sublime guy.
Okay. The biggest issue of this whole Jones concept is that if they were to do this, is they'd have to redo that for every fight, anytime of Rochi. That's right, dude. Like, that's gonna be tough, man. Because you gotta look back on everything, like every single time. And USADA, man, I don't know. They're testing, yes, and they're testing more than anybody in any promotion, in any organization, probably in any sport, right? Mm-hmm. But are they doing the job right? Are they doing it properly? Are they doing it the best that they can do the job, right? Or are they just doing the job so when they decide to so they have something they can use against fighters maybe, or to support fighters? I don't know. It's very weird, man, that some guys get popped and then you never hear about them. And then some guys get popped and then they're suspended and then they're cut. Some guys get popped and they were suspended the whole time. You didn't even know that they were suspended, right? Like, or
they're injured, you know?
Yeah, they're injured. Yeah, they retire and then they come back, right, after their injury and recovery. And, you know, we're seeing that situation with McGregor. Yeah, McGregor is the big one, right? Like this year, you got 2 of the biggest stars of the sport coming back, and USADA is just all over them, right? And they're manipulating the rules to have them return. And Jake, you make a great point, man. When McGregor comes back later this year, are they going to tweak some rules for that as well? Just because is McGregor taking like pre-piss tests just to see like what the levels are and doing his own testing? You know, you never know. Like, if you have the money, you could do that, right? You could do your own testing.
He can do whatever he wants, yeah.
Exactly, right? You could do your own testing. Like, you could take something, test yourself, and say, okay, this shit, it's lasting for like about a week. So let me not take this and take this shit. Because there's so much shit you can take now. Like, there's peptides that they can't test for, from what I heard, that you can take that will make you into an extreme athlete, like crazy, right? So, but yeah, man, this is a never-ending argument and never-ending topic, but I love it. Thank you guys, man, for coming on and chopping it up, and we'll have you guys on in the future. Everybody, make sure you guys go subscribe, like, and comment. If you're rewatching this, go in the descriptions, download the AllStar app, and make your picks for the next event. We'll be back on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll get Jake on that show in the future, and we'll see you guys. Anything you guys want to say before we leave, Jake?
No, man, honestly, thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this. I love what you guys do and happy to be a part of it. Everybody, like he said, subscribe to AllStar. They do great stuff. And UFC 285 next week. Let's go.
Yeah. Garrett, you got anything?
Nah, man. As you know, I love being here. The AllStar is where it's at. Don't forget, Go download that app, get your picks in before the show. So everybody, hop in there, talk about your bets or your picks, whatever, your predictions. And let's have it. UFC 285 right on tap. Let's go. Ready for it.
There you go.